General Douglas MacArthur of the American Navy performed a successful island hopping strategy. Americans bypassed defended Japanese islands and instead attacked key strategic locations to stage new operations. The total number of Japanese troops passed exceeded 57,000. The empire was spread way too thin, and once these islands were bypassed, no reinforcements could be sent to them and no attack could be made from them. They were useless. But what would happen if these 57,000 troops were put into garrison of key Japanese fortresses? Would America have been forced to invade Japan and suffer even more casualties? The lack of communication and useful strategies of the Japanese ground forces proved devastating to their land and island operations. On many occasions, Japanese forces charged a defensive line of American machine guns with little more than their bayonets. The number that charged would not matter thanks to the American supply lines, ammo, and sheer number of reinforcements. Japanese air support was limited due to the destruction of the Imperial carrier fleet in the Battle of Midway. Naval support was also suppressed and was eventually wiped out thanks to several technologically advanced American and Australian naval fleets. When the key airfield on the island of Guadalcanal was stormed by surprise, the Japanese in the jungle, even if reinforced with a few thousand soldiers, could not defeat the American line. Around 20,000 of 31,000 Japanese soldiers had been killed, whereas the Americans suffered less than 2,000 of 60,000 soldiers. Iwo Jima, a small island close to Japan, held a key airfield in which the US Air Force needed to have a straight line of bombing to Japan. If the island was not taken, Japanese would know of any air attack incoming to the homeland and would be able to stop it. So, General MacArthur decided to take the island. American Marines landed on February 19, 1945. The island was bombarded endlessly for days. It was supposed to be seized in 3 days. However, it took an entire month due to a vast underground cave system that the Imperial troops held up in. Little fewer than 21,000 Japanese soldiers died, while only 6,800 Americans died. The superiority of American firepower was clear. With the Imperial Navy destroyed and the Imperial Air Force dwindling in number, all Japan could do was send suicide attacks against the American Navy, an act of sheer desperation. Regardless of how many Japanese soldiers there were on the island, defeat was inevitable. Even if those 57,000 troops had been sent into the Japanese Navy or Air Force to further strengthen its power twofold, Japan's oil resources were diminishing. An increase in ships and planes means a huge amount of oil consumption, oil which Japan would run out of. Also, the American war effort outproduced Japan in quality and in quantity, proven by the use of the American P-51 Mustang fighter plane and the Essex-class aircraft carriers. When Japan lost its carrier fleet at the Battle of Midway, the Navy was crippled and its air superiority was lost. Japan never recovered, which proves its lack of efficient production. Even if the number of Japanese aircraft had been increased to accommodate the 57,000, any loss of aircraft or ships would have a much bigger effect on Japan's war effort. 57,000 soldiers, pilots, or sailors, if anything, would have only cost America more men and resources. In the Battle of Okinawa alone, Japan lost about 80,000 troops to America's 16,000. American triumph was all but certain. The 57,000 would have been eliminated, and American bombing operations would have been launched, as well as the atomic bombs that would eventually end the war. Japan would not have been